Imagine waking up tomorrow and every insect on Earth was gone. No bees, no ants, no flies, no beetles, no butterflies, no mosquitoes, no tiny wings in the air, no buzzing near your window, and no small creatures crawling beneath your feet. At first, many people might think the world had improved. No more mosquito bites, no flies landing on food, no wasps at summer picnics, no insects crawling into homes. For a short moment, the planet might seem quieter, cleaner, and more comfortable. But then, slowly, the cracks would begin to appear. Because insects are not just annoying little creatures, they are one of the hidden systems keeping the planet alive. The first changes would happen in places most people do not notice: in gardens, in forests, in fields, in the soil. Many plants depend on insects to move pollen from one flower to another. Bees are the most famous pollinators, but they are not alone. Butterflies, moths, beetles, flies, and many other insects also help plants reproduce. Without them, many flowers would stop producing seeds and fruit. Some plants would survive with wind, water, or other animals, but many would struggle. At first, grocery stores would still be full. The world would not collapse overnight. Humans have stored food, global trade, and crops like wheat, rice, and corn that do not rely on insects in the same way many fruits and vegetables do. But over time, the difference would become impossible to ignore. Apples, berries, almonds, melons, cucumbers, and many other foods would become harder to produce. Some would become more expensive. Some would become rare. Farms would need more human labor, more machines, or artificial pollination methods just to replace what insects once did for free. And the problem would not stop with food. Wild plants would also begin to change. Fewer flowers would produce seeds. Fewer fruits would grow in forests and fields. The animals that depend on those plants would begin to feel the loss. Birds would be among the first to suffer. Many birds feed insects to their young because insects are rich in protein and easy for chicks to digest. Without insects, countless nests would become harder to raise. Some birds could switch to seeds or fruit, but many would not adapt quickly enough. Then the effects would spread. Frogs, lizards, bats, fish, and small mammals all rely on insects as food. Remove insects, and you remove a massive part of the food chain. It would be like pulling threads out of a web. At first, the web still looks complete. Then it starts to tear, and eventually entire sections begin to fall apart. But insects do more than feed other animals. They also clean the world. Flies, beetles, ants, and other insects help break down dead animals, fallen leaves, wood, and waste. They are part of nature's recycling system. They take dead material and help turn it back into nutrients that can return to the soil. Without insects, dead matter would not disappear as quickly. Forests would become messier. Animal remains would last longer. Waste would break down more slowly. Other organisms like bacteria and fungi would still do some of the work. But insects speed up the process in a huge way. Without them, the natural cycle of decay would become slower and weaker, and that would affect the soil. Healthy soil is not just dirt. It is a living system filled with roots, fungi, bacteria, worms, and tiny creatures. Insects help mix the soil, break down organic material, and move nutrients through the environment. Ants, for example, build tunnels that change the structure of the ground. Beetles and larvae help break down plant material. Many insects create small movements that help air and water enter the soil. If insects vanished, soil in many places would become less alive. Plants would grow more slowly. Forests would recover less easily. Farms would need even more help from humans. And humans would definitely feel it. At first, people might celebrate the disappearance of pests. No more mosquitoes carrying diseases. No more locust swarms destroying crops. No more termites damaging buildings. No more insects eating stored food. There would be some benefits, but they would not last. Because the helpful insects outnumber the annoying ones in importance. The same world that loses mosquitoes also loses bees. The same world that loses crop pests also loses pollinators. The same world that loses flies also loses decomposers. Nature does not remove one piece cleanly. It removes connections. And insects are connected to almost everything. The disappearance of insects would also change the way the world sounds and feels. Summer nights would become strangely silent. Flowers would bloom, but fewer would turn into fruit. Birdsong might slowly fade in some places. Forests would feel emptier, even if the trees were still standing. The world would not become lifeless immediately, but it would become less alive. And the strangest part is that insects have been here far longer than humans. They survived ice ages. They survived mass extinctions. They adapted to deserts, forests, caves, rivers, cities, and mountaintops. Long before humans built farms, roads, or cities, insects were already shaping the planet. They were pollinating plants, feeding animals, cleaning decay, building colonies, changing soil, spreading life in ways too small for us to notice. And maybe that is why we underestimate them. Because insects are small, we imagine their role must be small too. But size is not the same as importance. A single bee may seem fragile. A single ant may seem meaningless. A single fly may seem annoying. But together, insects form one of the most powerful forces in nature. They are the quiet workers of the planet. Not because they are beautiful, not because they are loved, but because they are everywhere. If insects disappeared, the world would not end in one dramatic moment. There would be no explosion, no sudden darkness, no instant collapse. Instead, the damage would come quietly. A little less fruit, a little less birdsong, a little weaker soil, a little slower decay, a little more hunger, a little more imbalance. And year after year, the world would become harder to recognize. The truth is, insects do not need humans, but humans need insects far more than most people realize. They may be tiny, they may be strange, and sometimes they may be irritating. But without them, the planet would begin to fall apart in ways we could not easily fix. So the next time a bee lands on a flower, or an ant crosses the ground, or a beetle disappears beneath a leaf, it is worth remembering something simple. These small creatures are not just living in our world. They are helping hold it together. Thank you for watching.